Welcome, beautiful people. This is awesome. I have been so looking forward, to this, to be with all of you and to invite you to meet a really dear friend of mine, Lisa Harper. And Lisa, welcome. We are so glad that in your very busy schedule, you are able to join us, for a few minutes here and to explore a little bit just, the book that you wrote, Truly You. I just wanted to start with one thing, and that is that we met with Lisa about a year ago because we both ended up in London for an event for coaches and high achievers. And also, we ended up, being in one hotel, in the same hotel. And I remember just like today that it was just so amazing to meet Lisa because, she is someone who is just so easy to love and too easy to connect, immediately, instantly. If you think in your life about people that just, you don't know at all, and you strike a conversation and you know immediately how much just kind of you love to be in the presence, of this person. And so Lisa is definitely just kind of, someone that, I really was so just kind of, blessed to meet. And I didn't know that she was writing a book. She didn't reveal that as the truth to me. I know that she was very busy, just kind of, on her little laptop working and meeting people. And what was really amazing was that we ended up talking up to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and just talking about life. And Lisa, what was really very special to me, I just kind of, uh, wanted to bring something to my husband from London. And Lisa, she brought, and I will not now remember the name of the chocolate, but you just kind of, brought some chocolates and I just tasted them and I just said, this is so amazing. I know that my husband would love that. And then you bought like a bunch of them. So when I brought it at home, I just said, this is from Lisa Harper. And he's like, who is Lisa Harper? I just says, well, you first need to taste the chocolate, and he just says, I want to know more about Lisa Harper. You need to go more to London. And so it is really just kind of, treasure to be here. I just wanted to tell you guys that I have read the book Truly You twice. I actually just kind of finished it. I was on vacation last week and that was my book, so, it was so wonderful just kind of, to read that. And so I really, Lisa, I just, what I envision for us for the next, 30 minutes that we have together, I would like to just kind of, ask some questions, that will help people just kind of a little bit to get to know you, okay? And just especially in relation to the book and the creation of the book club that we want to make. So, the first question that just kind of, I would like to ask you is just, can you, take us back, Lisa, to the moment when the idea for Truly You first came to you? Was there just kind of a specific event or turning point that just made you say, I need to write a book?
Mm. Well, firstly, thank you for an incredible introduction. And all the love that I feel coming from you, Olga, is like, I want to give that right back to you as well, because that's really, you are a very special woman. And I could take the whole hour sharing my experience of you as well. So maybe we'll do that another time. Um, and I would say, no, I don't have the best memory in the world. So I can't promise that that is the truth. But I would say, no, I don't remember a specific moment where I thought, I'm going to be an author and I'm going to write this book. And I would say I kept putting myself into rooms where things started to become possible. So originally, a seed was planted many years earlier by somebody else who wanted to write a book. And I'm a team player. So I had no interest in writing a book, but I was on board for them. So I was like, okay, I'll co-write with you. So the seed was planted and that book didn't go anywhere. Um, But then I got into this coaching program, and there was they call it a book builder. So there was a publishers as part of the coaching program, and they teach you how to structure a book, how to write the book, how to develop a writing habit. And they were talking about, write the book that's going to sell what you do, not the book. So you're essentially, it's like you're positioning this book as a introduction to going into a deeper kind of work with you. And at the time, I was really engrossed in building a coaching school for coaches. And so all the advice was write a book for coaches, teaching them how to grow a business. And so I started, but there was this little whisper inside of me, this niggle that wouldn't go away. And I was like, I don't want to write this book. This is not the book that needs to be written. And so I just allowed myself to put aside all of the common sense and just see what wanted to come through. And this is the book that wanted to come through. And it makes so much more sense to me now. It's not that I was completely going out on a limb here. That when I first started coaching, all my work was around limiting beliefs. It was around being free to be yourself. It was around confidence. And so I think all of that is packed into that book. And so it felt like it was effortless almost to write, because the the book was about my life and my experience, and just the lessons that I'd kind of learned along the way. So it's not a biography, it's not an autobiography, but it's like I wanted something to be useful. Like
Mm.
I want to be able to travel the world, and I want to be able to touch the hearts of people, and I want to be able to share principles that actually helps enrich people's lives. And so um, that book that book came about as a result of me just listening, I think, to
Yeah.
my, yeah.
You know
And
what I yeah if if I mean it's just kind of what has been really interesting about just kind of this book particularly, of course it is a book about just really a development of a human soul, human spirit, human mind in all assets, just kind of possible assets of life. What I love about just kind of the way you wrote the back book, Lisa, is that you are really putting yourself into the book. You talk about certain maybe we can call it principles, or I don't have better word, just kind of how to put it in, but it's just then you come with a very vulnerable just kind of story from your life,
mm,
and how just kind of that particular truth or that particular wisdom really has completely just kind of set you on a different journey. And I love that there are so many just kind of beautiful examples from your life. And it's just beautiful to read a book when the author, you feel their heart, their authenticity, and just kind of their willingness to just kind of go beyond just kind of the surface. And that's what I have felt about you, especially just kind of taking on each concept and putting yourself into it. And I think that the second thing that is really remarkable about just this book is that I love how at the end of each chapter, there are just very practical, just, examples how people can put themselves, into a certain concept of practicing something that is just not like woo woo or something just kind of, make myself feel better, but it's just like really very practical way how to approach, some principle that might maybe sound a little bit just, you know, uh, far there, and maybe I don't know if that is something I can do or I could be that. And it's just kind of the beautiful prompts, the questions, and possibilities that you create with each chapter. That is something that just, I have found that is just kind of, really remarkable. I wanted to ask you a follow-up question, just kind of, what I asked you just in the beginning, just, when did that happen? And you are saying, well, it really didn't happen. I didn't get struck, by light and just says, okay, I will write a book. But I want to ask you, Lisa, did the whole writing process change you in ways that you didn't, expect? Because, I wrote a book too, or just, and I know that it changed me. And it changed me, especially just kind of, being able then being on in conversation and connection with people that I would otherwise never ever just kind of had a chance to be. So for me, it's just, I know that it just got published in January or early this year, but I want you to share with us, did this writing process, really change you in the ways you really didn't expect?
Um, I think a lot of change is still to come, Olga. So
Uh-huh.
I feel like that, it's like I guess like a baby, like you have your baby and then you do a hell of a lot of learning in the next 18 years, right? So I'm told. I'm not a parent, but it's like I feel like I've birthed something and it's only going to deepen and it's only going to elevate my learning and my trajectory. And yes, the book, like the writing process for me had me get everything out of my head and streamline my thoughts. So it was a way of structuring because my mind can just be like, it can just go on its own little journey. And so it was a way of actually capturing what's going on in here and what is it that I want to process. And I do that anyway. Like I actually really love writing social media posts and things because I find it really helpful to get my idea out of my head and down onto paper and then I can jiggle it around. And so the book was a really good way for me of what I used to only do in a coaching conversation with my coach, but now I'm actually doing it with with paper and myself and going through that process with myself. So yeah, I do think that there was a deepening of everything as I was writing. And I think there's a lot more that it's still going to come from now the book is out there. And I dip into it. Like the way I read books is I just open it up and trust that's what I'm meant to read. So the first time I would read it the whole way through, I definitely recommend reading it from start to finish the first time. But then you can just dip in and out. And I wrote it in a way that like you can just pick up a chapter and read that life lesson and then take a look and see, where does this apply to my life? So even if I'm talking about something to do with health, I'm talking about something to do with money, like you can take a look at the principle that I'm pointing to in the lesson and see where is this going to really serve my life if I was to ask myself, where does this show up? Where is this playing out for me? Um, so yeah, I do think that it has the writing process in itself was really therapeutic and enjoyable. Um, and not always. Sometimes it was like, oh, I don't want to write today. And other times I found myself not like I was going to take the day off, and then I just something would move me, suddenly I would find myself at my laptop and I'm writing, and I was like, what am I doing? I was going to have the day off, but there was just this allowing, of something to come through. And what I would say is the vulnerability didn't feel vulnerable when it was me in the pages. It didn't even cross my mind. So the first time that I felt vulnerable was in a co-working space and there was two publishers in there. And I'd only just recently found out that they were publishers and they offered to read the first draft of the manuscript. And I was like, oh, that'd be amazing. Thank you. And then when I printed it out and went to hand it over, suddenly I was like, shit, I feel really naked. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually about to you're about to find out a ton of stuff about me. And you've been stood behind me for the last month or so, and now I'm literally letting you like into my world in a really big way. And so that was the first time where it really hit home of like, wow, there's actually a lot of me in here for people to see.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's a lesson in itself for when we have something that we want to do, we can talk ourselves out of it because our mind goes too far into the future and thinks about what if and tends to think what if in the negative direction. What if it's not a success? What if I'm judged? What if it doesn't work out? What if no one likes it? What if I get a ton of criticism? And so then we have reasons not to do things. And so I think the beauty, like that process for me was so beautiful because of the level of presence just with the writing process. I hadn't gone anywhere else in my mind to like handing it over, having other people read it, seeing the reviews come in. None of that existed yet for me.
Hmm.
So it's just the lesson in life of like, let's come back to the here and now. Am I safe here and now? Of
Yeah,
course I'm safe.
that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I remember, when you went to this little cafe shop, and wanted to just kind of, start writing. And it was this loud music, and then it was just kind of, these people talking too loud. And you're like, well, I really just kind of think that this is not going to work. And that was so beautiful, the whole process. Like, what if I write about this, you know, and find the gold just, in that. And I think that was just, one of the many examples that I just love so much, just seeing you, because I have been in a similar situation, being in Starbucks and just kind of trying to write and, people, talking too loud. And I mean, that's a normal life, right? But I just, that's one of the many examples that I just kind of, so like, here is Lisa showing up just kind of, with her commitment because she, that was beautiful about just, going through the book and knowing, that, I show up, for what I'm doing, and regardless of what's going on, and I create just kind of, a place for myself that I can open up just kind of, to it. So that was really, really cool. Lisa, I wanted to also ask you, because the book is in, in a different just kind of, big chunks, and I personally just, especially when I was reading it for the second time last week, the very last part was so, like transformational for me, the invitations that you just kind of, have for people. But before that, I just wanted to, go to a little bit because the book is just kind of really through a lot of chapters there, right? And what I was hearing a little bit, just what you have shared, is that it doesn't almost matter when we pick up the book. If we would just kind of, whatever the chapter, feels relevant to us, we can start right there. Could you a little bit just kind of talk about it? How was the sequencing for you as you were writing it? And also just knowing that, it doesn't matter when people, pick up, their pace, within the book. Could you just talk about it? And maybe in the relationship with just kind of, the book club that we both do.
So the structure of the book was probably the thing that I had the most resistance to when I was writing, because I like to be given the freedom to roam. So I like to just be like, this is what wants to come out of me. And the publishers were like, Lisa, this is going to look like a ton of blogs. I was like, but
Right.
I'm okay with that. And so they had to kind of rein me in a little bit. And so there was they recommended three parts or five parts because the reader's journey, it makes the reader's journey easier. And so for me, my book made sense to have the principles and understanding that I've discovered that I think underneath everything, and like in terms of how we live our life. We have a thought, the thought creates the feeling and the sensation in the body. And then we have more thought about that. If we have a sensation that we don't have a preference for, we have quite a lot of thinking about that. And the more intense the feeling, the more we tend to get interested in our story. And that has the story hang around longer and the feeling get more intense. And most of this is happening on autopilot the whole day long. And so when I started to discover, hang on, I don't need to believe my thoughts and I don't need to move them along. I don't have to reframe them. The nature of thought is that it's going to move on anyway. So there's less for me to do here. I was really fascinated by that when I first heard it. And so that in itself has been like, that was 8 years ago when I started to hear
Hmm.
new principles was my introduction to it. And then I've worked with Byron Katie and I've been in lots of different rooms where I'm seeing the thoughts and the ego essentially up for grabs. Like, let's question all of this. And then we can come back to this more peaceful place within. And then when that bandwidth isn't as full and noisy, that makes a lot of room for like fresh new ideas and thoughts to come through that are higher up the ladder of consciousness. And so the first part of the book is all about starting to get an understanding of the difference between the content of thought, the nature of thought. But I wanted to write it in a way that it wasn't super academic and it wasn't super spiritual, because I wanted it to be real and useful for people. And some of my audience have a lot of years of spiritual growth. and other people are completely fresh and new to this path. And so I wanted to write in a way that it would actually make sense to lots of people. Um, and so that's the first part. And then I feel like once you've started to get a little bit of a feeling for what I'm pointing to in there, as you're reading through the life lessons, you can come from those principles. So those principles to me are a place to come from,
Hmm.
not a place to get to, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. Um, and then the final part was the invitations. So one of the things that I used to when I was looking out at people who were coming back to this really peaceful, still place within, but then they were stopping.
Hmm.
I have this spark in me. And I do think there's a life force energy is dynamic and moving and it wants to create. So for me, it's not the end destination isn't like, oh, now everything's okay, there's no problem to solve here. It's, oh, everything's okay, there's no problem to solve here. And now I see a lot more clearly what fun do I want to have? Like, what do I want to create now?
Yeah.
So the invitations
Yes.
really is that kind of call to action of like, now you've got this clarity of mind. Now you're starting to view yourself differently. You're starting to expand what's possible for you. You're starting to interact with the world differently. Like, what doors are now opening up? Go through them.
Yeah, I really like just kind of, I think that is just, such a really an incredible thing for people in general to realize just, we usually get stuck if something just kind of, unhealthy or unexpected, happens. And just, that's what I am seeing, weaving through the whole books down so masterfully, seeing the gold in
Mm.
places that you will never ever dig for them. And I think that that is just kind of, really, and just so remarkably, just kind of, you really guide the reader through it to just kind of discover that. Okay. Oh my goodness. So I always was thinking that this is a huge issue, as well, a huge issue. But what is Lisa saying, oh, what if you just kind of, turn it upside down and look at it, from the place that, can actually just kind of create much more abundance and completely a new creation and possibility that can be there for you. That is just beautiful. And I know that we as coaches, that's just kind of the mastery that we kind of try to just kind of introduce to people who we work with. Yet I think just kind of the way you have explained it and wrote in the book and go about it, it's just so simple and profound for people to grasp that, that aha, that was just for me, many just kind of aha moments in the books, that something that I knew, about, but it's just kind of, the way you explained it and you went around it, just, it was not then kind of, understanding here, but I was like, I know, now I know, So,
That's what I really want for people because there's such a difference between understanding intellectually and really fully living from this truth. And when I say truth, I'd say it with a small t, right? It's not truth with a capital T. And I don't want anyone to take my word for something. I want you to take it and try it on. Like see if it fits. Go out and live your life from this understanding and see what it does, see what doors it opens. Um, but yeah, that is what I really want people to do, to actually lift the words off the page and have them breathe life into you and you breathe life into them and see what happens. And life is going to send us all our curriculums, right? So don't get me wrong, that I do not walk around in this Zen state all the time, not caring, not getting angry. Like I feel all the feels still. But I think if we start to practice with the smaller curriculum, the person who bumps the car, or these things that someone spilled coffee on me, or these things that can irritate us. It's like if we can start to practice coming back to clarity of mind with those things, when the big things hit, they don't shake you as much. And so I'm
yeah.
always saying, start now, practice in this moment. There'll be a ton of stuff that happens even today where
Yeah,
you
that's
where
already a beautiful lesson. What just kind of, I mean, that's a beautiful takeaway, right? Just, what you are saying, Lisa, Don't start with something that is just kind of like a huge trauma, huge just kind of issue. Think in your life that you are just hanging there, but just start with just kind of little things. The irritation that somebody, passes you on the highway, right? Or that you spill a coffee, on your new dress or whatever it is. I think, yeah, I just love that. It's just right there from just kind of the moment when you take your first just kind of conscious breath in the morning, right? I
Oh, good. Sorry, I just want to jump in with that because it's why I think the book club is going to be so fun.
uh-huh.
Because it's literally like what's going on in your lives, right? We're going to read this, but then we're going to apply it. Like, what is actually happening in my life, and how is this playing out, and how is this going to serve me? And so I think that in itself is going to take it from an intellectual understanding to a more embodied understanding. And certainly for me, for many, 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 many years, I found it really challenging to surrender. And when I worked with Dick Bettinger, who's a clinical psychologist. I'm not sure if any of you know him, but he's the most incredible man. He's just amazing. And I spent about 2 years working one on one with him, and I kept bringing up. He was like, Lisa, surrender. He might not have said it quite like that, but he's like, let go of the personal mind. And in the book, he's the one that inspired the drawing where there's like this tiny little dot, and he drew this to me. He's like, see that? That's your mind. That's the little personal mind. And you're trying to create everything from there. And then see the rest of the piece of paper, Lisa? That is the intelligence that you have available to you. That is the life force intelligence that you can create from. It is within you. But you think that this little dot has got the answers. And I was just not willing to surrender the little dot because there wasn't that trust. And like, have you really got my back? Have you really got my back? And so I had to keep leaning into that. I had to keep practicing what would it be like to surrender. And when I was digging into my belief system of like, I can't surrender because it was, it was because I thought surrendering was pretty passive. So if I surrender, what do I just turn into a doormat? Do I just like allow everything to happen around me? I don't want to surrender. I want to create change. And so what he was pointing me to was, oh, you're going to create change, but you're going to be far more powerful. Like surrendering is not passive. It's really, really proactive. And it's way more powerful than that tiny little dot of yours.
Yeah, I love that part in the
It took
book
him two
and the
years to get
drawing.
that one into me.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, let's just kind of, for just, a few minutes, we can kind of, talk a little bit just, about the book club, like when we go through this journey. So it would start in the middle of September until the middle of December. Okay. So it's about 3 months journey, you know, uh, what do you hope from people who just kind of will embark on this journey, with us? What they would be just kind of, saying, about themselves when they finish the book? What do you think? Just kind of what
Oh, I
might
have a
happen?
long list of things. I would love for people to be saying, I feel free. I feel so much more freedom inside of me. I feel so much more confident. I feel so much more courageous. I feel so much more comfortable within my own skin. I want people to be saying, wow, like I am surprised at the other person's reaction because of who I am being now.
Mm,
Like all of these things are what my clients say. This is all possible. So this isn't me living in fantasy land of you could read this book and then everything's going to drastically change. There is work to do. So you're gonna have to show up as well. But that is what I would love for people to really grasp of my whole experience of life is being created from the inside out. My thinking that I'm attaching myself to has got the remote control and is driving my behaviors that are creating my results. And so if I want to have different results, whether that's internally feeling a different kind of peacefulness or freedom or confidence, or whether it's externally feeling okay with different circumstances, deepening relationships, like that's the starting point for me. That's the foundation. How I see myself, how I see the world around me, that is what's creating my results. And if I can start to hop into and try on, at least be willing to try on different perspectives, then I can change a lot of my results.
That's beautiful. I would like to ask you, Lisa, even on this call, when we are together, is there anything you would like to invite us? Like for where we each of us are,
Mm.
something that we might shift between now and time when we just kind of would come to the book club. What
Yeah.
would you?
Well, I think that's the question to ask. So we all have our own curriculums. We're all on our life path. And so we're all going to get something different. I imagine we have similar fears, but we'll all take away whatever we need to take away that's going to serve us. So I don't know if you can put it in the chat. Like what's just one either one area of your life that you would love to take a look at, put some attention on, or one thing in your life that you would love to be different as you roll out of this year. So I'd love to know that. That's going to really help us direct the conversation and serve you as well. Hmm. More fun, Olga. Is it possible for you to have more fun? Look at that smile.
Absolutely. I was thinking, Lisa, actually, I was thinking, like a couple of days ago, I just, for some reason, each year I come with some kind of, a word or just, like a main thing that I just really feel like it would be so good to blossom in that. And it's the middle of the year, right? We are in the middle of the August, but this word is coming just kind of into really my soul. And that is just kind of, like fun. It really just, enjoying, a life and having fun because I feel like I'm just so, like focused on
Mm,
things that I create for, my business and for my clients. And I love that and I want to put more fun into it. I am
mm,
having fun when I'm with people, but I just kind of feel like there is an energy beyond just kind of, that fun that I just feel, and I just feel like it would be so great to explore that. Is it possible to have even more fun that
mm.
I'm having now, So that's my thing.
Yeah,
But we have a
big
couple of
feeling.
different things here. We have Elizabeth. She says, to make room in my life for the personal projects and purposes that my heart feels drawn to.
Nice. Amazing. Yeah. Um, yeah, well, I already want to dive in and ask a million questions now, Elizabeth. But thank you for going first. And I always feel like honesty, like really radical honesty about what's stopping me from putting attention into those personal projects and into that purpose is going to reveal a ton of stuff for you
Mm,
to work on. Because usually if I say to my clients, they're telling me what they value and what they want, and then I'll say, show me a calendar, and there'll be none of that stuff in there. And I'll say, well, I don't think that you're valuing it then. I can tell what you're valuing because it's being done. And so that's just one perspective. That's one way of looking at it. And when I say it, and I'm always inviting people into these inquiries with love and understanding and curiosity and compassion. Like there is zero space for any kind of judgment, any kind of shaming, any kind of blaming. Like that's not here. So we go into this like radical honesty because we don't have to worry about beating ourselves up when we discover things. We can just then own them and we can be like, wow, now I have the agency to really start to make a change here. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, Yeah, maybe what we can do now, if that's feels fine for you, because I know that you have other commitments, right? Coming up. Maybe we can just kind of, pull out, the side with the book club. I mean, I can do it, or if you want to do it, either way. Do you
I think I put the link in the chat, so I can. Do you want to share your screen, Olga? If you click on the link in the chat, it should
Yeah,
take us.
I
the
can see that.
page.
Okay, just a second. Okay, share. Okay, portion of the screen. Okay, now I just kind of gonna have to kind of, wow, I'm not sharing something that I just don't want to share. Let's see. Here. Okay.
Right. So if you stop sharing, let me see if I can. Is that it?
I will stop share, but
Let's see if I can do it here. Um, you got two
I should have
technophobe
prepared it
reading
over
right
there.
here. I think this is it. Let's see. Can you see a screen that says the book club truly you? Yeah, perfect. Okay. Um, so this is what we're doing. So this is the book here. It's not yet on Audible, but I do have plans actually to turn it into an audio book. But I'm just going to scroll right down to the bottom. There is a little bit about me if you want to learn more about me. And also I'm very open to taking questions and having anyone reach out if you want to learn more. And then we have our fabulous host. Um, and then right down the bottom here, we have the dates. So we're kicking off on September the 16th, and we got 12 sessions in total. This is in UK time, so 5 p.m., which I think is the same time as we started today, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm not sure where everybody is in the world. So we've got these 3 sessions in September, we've got 4 in October, 3 in November. We skip a week in November, and then we wrap up on the 9th of December. So what we're doing is we're doing 3 different payments. If you want to pay it forward, then there's a £60 option. So we have had people pay it forward, which I'm very grateful for. And that helps cover somebody else's place. We've got the standard rate of £30. And then we've also got, because we want to just make this as accessible as possible. So if money is feeling a little tight, then we've got a £15 option as well. And you can just go in and click. I can't quite see the button because I can see your faces instead. So you can just click on this book club, and then the rest is pretty much self-explanatory. But yeah, Olga and I we're gonna be on every single call with you guys. And our intention is to make it fun. And to make it life-changing. And I don't mean that to sound dramatic, but the principles in there are really what has changed my life. I have gone from being a really shy girl to releasing a lot of labels that I had picked up along the way, to being able to travel. Like, I've been to all 7 continents, I've traveled independently, I've come completely out of my shell, I speak on stages. I like to go from not having a voice to being comfortable to walk into a room and like hold your own in the room. Like these are the things that I have worked on, to be able to find that kind of courage to be myself. And also, I want to say it this way, most of the time now it doesn't feel courageous. People will say, wow, that you're so brave. And I'll go, am I? And I don't mean that to sound cocksure. It's just, it's unusual. It's like, it's surprising to me when someone says, wow, that's so brave. And it's because I've transcended a lot of the things that used to feel incredibly scary. So I do really mean it is life changing. I do mean that.
Lisa, what do you think, just kind of, would there be, a suggestion for people who, register? What would you, suggest between now and between just kind of, the first, book club that we will have? Could you also tell how long that is? It will be done again, just kind of, on a Zoom, right? Also, some people had a question if they sometimes cannot make it, to the live book club, if there is going to be recording, and I just was, thinking to bring it just kind of, in this call. So, these questions might be answered.
Yeah, good questions. So you can come to as many or as few of the sessions as you would like to. We would obviously love to see you there, because then we can have live interaction with you guys and we can help embed the lessons in the book a little more. But it all will be recorded and it will be stored in a little portal. So you'll have access to the online portal and you can go in, you can rewatch the recordings of any of the sessions if you've missed them, or even if you've been there and you want to go back through and have another listen to them. If you've got friends who want to join you, they don't have to join for the start. If you're talking about the book club and then someone's like, I want to be a part of that too, they're more than welcome to join at any time. It's not, the doors don't open and then they close on this, for the first session. So all those recordings will be in there for them to catch up on as well. If you bump into people who want to be a part of this after we've kicked off.
How do you see, Lisa, the flow of just kind of, each call, because there are different ways people do book clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we will do something that we will read through the whole chapter because there are some book clubs that they actually read on a live call, right? What do you envision, for, this book? What do you
Well, what I envision and what might happen could be two different things, Olga.
think?
So I'm open to going with what the group is feeling pulled towards, actually, is what I want to say. Um, and I don't mean we'll try and please everybody if we all want different things. I'm just open to everyone get the book, read through the book. If you haven't read it, that's no big deal either, because you can still come and I feel like you can still pick up on a lot of the conversation just from being in the room. But yeah, ideally grab yourself a copy, start to read through it now. Um, you'll get a digital copy. Anyone that joins the book club will get a digital copy anyway sent to you. And then start to apply the lessons. And then in the sessions themselves, we can read through bits, we can read through the chapter, we can refresh on the bits that we're reading in that week. And then we can take some questions. And I'm totally down for doing some live coaching. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it makes such a difference. So if you've got things that are showing up for you, then don't be shy. Bring them, and we can support you and help you through, help you navigate anything that's going on. The book is really a tool for a deeper, richer conversation.
Yeah, I love that. I just, that's what I just kind of wanted to make sure that people know that it's going to be interactive, right? And of
Mm-hmm.
course, there is a freedom, if you just want to be one who just kind of, feels more comfortable just listening, it's phenomenal because you will see that if other people struggle about, something and you will hear a little bit how that conversation is navigated through the call, you will find so much of gold for yourself. That's what is just so beautiful when you are in a space, even just, watching, conversation that it's taken between, Lisa and just kind of, someone who might just kind of have a question about something that, has come up. So I love that, and it's something that, I have been in a space like that and learned so much just by observing, and I know that it takes a little bit of courage and vulnerability to just come on the spot, and it might be something also that we might practice, right, that it becomes just kind of more comfortable for us to say, because I also have learned about myself, Lisa, the the more courageous I am and the more vulnerable I am to share about really what's going on in my life, I know that it just kind of very much resonates also, with my clients and my family and people around me, because I think that level of vulnerability that we open up to, that's where the gold is.
Mm. Yeah.
At least just kind of, for me, just, it feels so good afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Something that you just kind of hold for so long or hold for a week and just, you can actually talk about it and get an insight on it. And it's just not only that you get insight and you understand a little bit better how you can look at it or who you can be in that situation, but it's just kind of, the transformation that takes place, in the spot, is just, really truly amazing. You feel it. You
I
really
think
feel it in the body.
I think it's really unique and rare to have two transformational coaches who are running a book club, who's also the author, right? So it's like a really beautiful space that we're putting together for you all to feel incredibly held and supported and loved. And we're not authors going in that have no training, opening up cans of worms with zero training. We're trained. So I would say we're going to create a really safe container for everyone. And you all have the dial. So you can share as much or as little as you would like. And you will still get so much from listening to other people's shares, listening to us share, and then just trying on internally for yourself without ever saying anything. You will still, I was in a call recently, a group program, and somebody asked the question, what does excellence look like for me here? And I was like, boom, that was my question. Like, I want that one too. So I wasn't in the hot seat, but someone else was, and I still took a rich reward from that call. Um, and the other thing that I would say about that is use that, right? That's your curriculum. So if you notice there's a part of me that wants to speak up, but I'm frightened, then you just want to be really loving with that part of you that's frightened. Because often, if there's a part of us that's frightened, we have some kind of judgment on it ourselves. How am I going to look? Am I stupid asking this question? Like all of this kind of stuff can come up in group containers. So that can be very I don't want to, healing doesn't feel like the right word. Um it's like the doorway into transformation of, ooh, I'm just noticing. Noticing is the word. I'm just noticing something in me that feels really edgy, and I'm stopping myself from doing something. And then that's the part that you want to take a look at and see, what's the judgment that I have on that? And without the judgment, we're free. We're just free to be ourselves, and we're free to speak and express openly. Um, so yeah, that's a little top tip as well for participation.
Yeah, beautiful. I know that we are coming to close, right? Um,
Let me stop sharing so I can see everything.
yes. Is there, anything else, Lisa, that you want to just, cover that might have not come at something that is coming up for you before, we close?
I think I just see a question in here that says, how do you see breaking the book down for each meeting? So I think maybe that will be a little fluid, but Olga and we'll speak before we start, and we'll take a look at, which bits are we going to chunk together, and then we'll send out some comms ahead of time so everyone's clear about which bits we're going to dive into. And I would like permission to throw the agenda out if it feels like there's somewhere else that wants to be alive in that week's call. Um, so yeah. And will this recording be emailed to us and we can share with friends? Yeah, I think so. There's no reason why we can't share this call, this one right now. I think, is that what you're saying, Elizabeth? Maybe you can't come off mute. But yes, yeah. So I think we can share this one. I'll go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Please do spread the word. I honestly, it melts my heart. I see people send pictures. Olga is included in this, and pictures of Truly You at the airport, on cruise ships, on beaches. And they're sending me all these messages like, this has changed my life. I've done this because of this. This book has come with me here and this has happened. And so please do share. This book is not about me. It's about me, but it's not about me. And I just want it to make as much difference as possible out there in the world. So yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Is there anything else, Olga, you want to add, or any other questions from anyone?
I just would like to close with something. I know that, you are really very well known in UK, right? And you are known in the United States. You have been really recognized as a really woman, a leader, and not only the author. And I think that I just want to point on something, and that is that just go and find out more about who Lisa Hopper is, okay? Because it is going to help you to understand how generous this human being is. And that's what I love about you. And that's what just kind of connect me with you, because you are really an example of unconditional love. And
Mm.
you are also just kind of, very clear on what you would like to create, in this world. And I think that the offer that, really you are creating with this book, I cannot talk about just the value that anyone who is going to just kind of sign up for this journey, the value, guys, that you will get, you just don't even imagine today. You will be seeing things, for yourself that not only just kind of were impossible, but you will start seeing things that you would not be ever able to see in your life that could resurface, in the possibility what you can create regardless of your age, regardless, where you are in your life. If you just were fired, or if you just are retired, if you are someone who has a cancer, if you are someone who is really looking enhance just, relationship with your loved ones or with your child, with, it's just, this is a journey that is going to be exceptionally transformational. And when I look at the price, I feel just, so honored that Lisa, you really are offering something like that so generously. And I know that you always follow your nudge, and that your intention is pure and deep, and you know that you will be very blessed for just kind of, what you are just kind of, going to create in this specific container that we will have. I know that the blessings that will come your way will be tenfolds, 100 folds. I promise you that I see that.
Well, I thought the introduction was good, but I mean, you just blew it out of the water with the finale there. Can everyone imagine a world just full of Olgas? Like, how incredible would that be?
Yeah, that would be really.
How your world would change if you walked around in the world seeing out of Olga's eyes. Like she sees so much beauty, so much joy, and then she expresses it. And I just love that. Like that's how we change. That is how we change. I don't mean change the world like this big thing. I just mean that's how you change your world. Like imagine if that was how you looked out at your partner, how you looked out at your kids, how you looked out at the person who's annoyed you. Like it's incredible. You're just full
Yeah,
of Olga. There's
you know, I
so many lessons just in this alone.
yes, and I love what you are saying, because and that goes with, listen it about yourself, guys, because sometimes people are like, what kind of dent I just kind of have made or am making in the world. Yet I have learned just kind of, from my life and from lives of many and beautiful people around me, that if you just change one person, or if you help just kind of the other person to see more light, your just your effect on that person goes just kind of beyond one generation. It can go to three, six, even further generations, forward, and I think that that is something that sometimes we forget. It's not about the numbers. It's about just, the presence of really true love, unconditional love that we offer to anyone who is just in front of our face. And when we are capable to do it, we are changing the not only the person, but everybody else who is around that person, and everybody else who just kind of, that other person is changed to other people. So I always feel that if I work just with one person my whole life, I know that it can have effect to another three, four generations. And
Mm.
it's done because there is just kind of that unconditional love that is shared with. So thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for being with us today. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for just taking the time in your busy schedule. And I cannot wait to get on this beautiful ship of truly you starting in
That's very
September.
exciting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. It's been really nice to meet you all, and I'm excited to diving in deeper in a month's time. Yeah. All
Thank you,
right.
Lisa.